Good morning. I hope you get that you're in for a great day. And there's a bit of a theme running through today, as well as other things. There's a theme of survival, and I think you heard that in our first speaker. And that's what I'll also be talking about, but I'll be talking about the language of survival. So is it possible right now, with the language, beliefs and relationships that we have, that we could be heading towards fear, miscommunication and war? Perhaps even the very existence of life on the planet could be at risk. So my question that I'm posing to you today is, what role does communication and language play in all of this? What are the words and the paradigms that we've used in our language to create the world that we've got today? So imagine this. I'm in the kitchen preparing dinner for two little boys. They've both got ADHD and I'm giving their foster parents a break for the weekend. I haven't quite got dinner ready. I look around, oh my goodness, I've never seen it before, but one of the little boys has opened the top of the fridge. He's doing chin-ups and leg outs, spinning his legs out. I race over, get him off the fridge, put him on the carpet, and a friend has lent me a train set. And I say to he and his brother, look, just play with that for a few minutes whilst I get dinner ready. It won't be a moment. And like all good boys, they played peacefully for about 1 minute. And then the fight was on. It's mine, I got it first. No, it's mine, I got it first. I could see the fists were about to form, so I raced over and pulled them apart. I looked at one boy and I said to him, you know what, from your point of view, you're right. It is yours, and you did get it first. And then I looked at the other boy and I said, you know what, you're right, from your point of view. It is yours, and you did get it first. The question is, who's going to be generous and let the other one have it first? And they looked at me like you were looking at me thinking, what is she going on about? And then the older boy said, I want to be generous first, Roz. So he gave the train set to his little brother. Phew, I could get on with the cooking. But what got me, within a few minutes, little brother came up tugging on my skirt. Roz, I want to be generous now. And he gave the train set back to his brother. I was absolutely stunned. A few minutes before, they would have been really fighting, but because I had insisted that being generous was more important than being right, that's what they took on. So how did all of this happen with language? Well, consider there was a time when we were running around on the planet and we didn't have language. People say it was about 40,000 years ago. But as we became upright, developed a voice box in the front part of our brain, language developed. And we needed language because as humans, we're herd animals, we're social beings, and we needed to be civilised. So we have gone from absolutely no words to, just in the English language, well over 1 million words. Isn't that incredible? And we created them all. There was a time when there was no language and no words. But the interesting thing for us is, if we've created them and we've taken them on, then what could we create next? So I'm really challenging us today to rethink about what we've created in language and what's possible. Because we're civilised, and becoming more civilised, I hope, there were particular paradigms that we took on. We took on the paradigm of right, wrong, good, bad, black, white, win, lose. All very effective, and they've given us the world that we've got today. But I think we're at a point where we could create the language that we need to have us sustainable into the future. And we're creating language all the time. We only have to look at the area of technology to understand that. We've either created new words or given old words new meanings. RAM, ROM, mouse, Apple, Windows, iPod, iPad. They're either words that we already knew but with a different meaning, or totally created words. So we can create words, and as we grow and develop, we have different distinctions that we want, and they're important to us in our lives. When I was growing up on a farm in the country, when my parents had tea or coffee, the coffee was instant, and it was either black or white, with or without milk. Or if it was tea, it was usually an English loose-leaf tea. Nowadays, if you go to restaurants and cafes, there's likely to be at least 30 different types of tea and coffee. Americano, affogato, babycino, even coffees for children, latte, soy, decaf, coffee that's not coffee, orange mocha frappuccino. Well, the one that I find really interesting for the very discerning coffee drinker is the luwak coffee. Are you familiar with luwak coffee? The coffee bean is digested by the civet cat in Indonesia, and the enzymes in the stomach of the cat do something to the coffee bean so that when it's excreted, the bean and then roasted has a very delicate chocolate-rich flavour. I know it's impossible. It is the most exclusive coffee on the planet. It costs a fortune. But haven't we come a long way from instant tea and coffee? That's what we're looking at. So, it is time for us to have a think about language. I wonder if you have a definition of the word away. If I say to you away, what does away mean to you? What do you assume about the word away? In Pachamama or Mother Earth symposiums, Julia Butterfly Hill really challenges her participants when she says to them, when you say you are throwing something away, where is away? Consider on planet Earth, we have no away. We just move things from point A to point B. In this case, away is a social justice issue and an environmental issue. For most of you in the audience, away might mean not near me. And with language, we think it's the truth, but I hope you're getting now the feeling for it's not the truth. If you know anything about communication, then research indicates that only 7% of the meaning of communication are the actual words we use. 38% is our tone of voice, and 55% is our body language. So, if I said to you, I'm really excited to be here today, but if I said to you, really, I am excited to be here today, do you get there's no truth in the words? If there's any truth, it's in who I'm being and what I'm intending. The words really don't mean anything. So, what does that mean? We have a golden opportunity. If we look at the animal world, do animals do anything wrong? The other day after rain, I was walking in the bush and a leech latched onto my leg, sucking out the blood. I didn't like it, it was uncomfortable, but a leech just did what a leech does. That's their life, isn't it? Survival. Or I was hanging the washing on the line and a magpie flew overhead and soiled my favourite blouse. Did the magpie do anything wrong? The magpie just did what the magpie did. It didn't suit me, it ruined my blouse, but that's life, isn't it? But it's we humans who've created distinction morality. We have said that things are right or wrong, and we've lived that very powerfully in our lives. But is it time now to really think, does that nurture us? Does that sustain us? Does that propel us into the future? I wonder how many of you are aware of different politicians who really have been quite corrupt. Not all of them, some of them. And with an imperfect legal system, chances are they're likely to get away with far more than what they should do. But the question most voters are asking, and that really challenges us, have they had integrity, generosity, accountability? And on those counts, we'd probably say no. But as long as we think being legally right is more important than having integrity or generosity, we're going to have the world that we've got. I'm very lucky in my own life. I live with an extended family arrangement with my two granddaughters. In my mind, my granddaughters will never do anything wrong. They might be tired, hungry, want their mum, distracted, forgetful. They might be any one of those things, but they'll never be wrong. And sometimes what they do doesn't work. Like we're having dinner and one of them will be yelling, and it really doesn't work to have a peaceful family meal with one of them yelling. So we have a portable thinking chair. Darling, sit on the thinking chair, and when you've calmed down, you can come and join us for the meal. The child sits on the chair and eventually calms down and joins the family again. Now, what really amazed me about that chair was the other day she came up to me and she said, "Grandma, where's the thinking chair?" "Why do you want it?" I asked. "Oh, I just need to sit and think." How much more powerful is that chair for her than to have a naughty chair? She'll never be naughty in our house. She might do things that don't work, there might be things that are missing, but she'll never be naughty. So The challenge for you, if you've understood what I've been talking about, is to look at what you're doing with your language and how mindlessly we've taken it on. So many of these paradigms, you know, the thing about the coffee and whatever, my parents would do things and I would just assume that was the way they were to be done. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm not about being wrong, but what I'm about is that we bring mindfulness to who we are and what we can create. Imagine if you had a workplace and a family where no one did anything wrong, but perhaps there were things that were missing that would make a difference. So if we brought the distinction workability to a much higher level, I mean, you can still use the words you want, but if we made, does it work? And if it's not working, what's missing? Then what could we create with that? What would your families be like? What would your work situation be like if there was no blame or guilt, but just a search for the missing, the workability? What could we create with that? So, your challenge. After another speaker and a bit of beautiful music, you'll have a break. And my challenge to you is that you take right and wrong out of your language, out of your spoken language and out of your thoughts, and use phrases like, that works, that doesn't work, that's helpful, that's interesting, but take wrong out of your language. Now again, you're here today because you really want to be inspired by new ideas. You could just go away and think, oh, Roz's talk, that was pretty interesting. But if we really want peace on the planet, deep down I think you know it all begins with you, in your own home, with the people you love and in your workplace. So you have the opportunity to take wrong out of your language and bring workability in, or you could throw this golden opportunity away.